Hey, this is Matt once again. We're about to have videos that are paid requests. It's time for Douglas. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for the 1995 film Thunderbolt, which is a Jackie Chan film that, it's funny, in the opening credits, because this is on YouTube to watch if you want to for free. When I'm watching the opening credits, it says a Jackie Chan film, but I looked it up and the director was Gordon Chan, who worked on films like Fist of Legend. So I'm like, okay, well, which is this? Is this a Gordon Chan film or is it a Jackie Chan film? This it says a Jackie Chan film, but whichever. Maybe it's one of those that, I don't know. Maybe Gordon Chan did like dialogue scenes, but then Jackie Chan did the action, and then he gets more of the credit because he's the bigger star. I don't know. But it's pretty much Jackie Chan's race car movie. The setup of the plot is Jackie Chan, he's a former race car driver. He works with a group of people where they test stuff, they test vehicles. One cool bit where they test his bus, and you see the bus going in such a rapid fire state of affairs of the speed as it's turning across this road and this track, and you see the people inside on the side here, and I'm sitting there going, man, it looks like any second now it's going to just topple over. But they check the equipment. He also works at a junkyard with his dad. I recognize the guy who played his dad. He played the crime lord in the first Police Story. So Jackie Chan works with him, and he's got two younger sisters who he's very protective over. But he also helps the police. The police are investigating this illegal street racing circuit. Yeah, this criminal, I forget the guy's name, but he's got this blonde hair. He looks a little bit like, who would I compare him to? Kind of like look-wise Julian Sands from the Warlock films, or maybe a little bit of Gary Daniels, his early look where he had the ponytail. Not the same acting-wise, but I would just say look-wise similar to that. And so Jackie Chan will help these guys look into these cars and say, that's a legal part, that's a legal part. So one thing leads to another. He's with the cops. They help this reporter, who's our female lead, which I would butcher her name, so I won't try, but her and her cameraman, their car's broken down. They help get the car going, and they see the bad guy they need to get to, and the bad guy's name is Cooter. So Jackie Chan commandeers the car, drives after him. After some pretty decent car chasing, the reporter's in for the ride. He's able to get the guy to this police blockade, stop him while the guy's caught in this roadblock. But because of insufficient evidence, the guy's let go. Jackie Chan's sisters are taken after this thing happens in this junkyard where the trailer Jackie Chan's staying in, they grab it like a crane game and they waddle it around and crash through, and his father gets in the hospital, his sisters are taken, he's bloodied up, he's mad at this Interpol agent played by Michael Wan, which has been a few stuff. I remember there's a film he was in, forget the name of it, but Michelle Yeoh and Haruyuki Sanada, they started. Film I didn't mind. I'm just bad with titles, I can't remember the name of it. But he was in that one. He's been in a few other flicks. He's an Interpol agent that's trying to get this guy arrested. Didn't do the job right. Jackie Chan's pissed at him. And then the bad guy pretty much tells him, listen, Jackie, I want to race you. There's this race coming up. We're going to be racing some tracks with other guys. I want you there. If you beat me, you get your sisters back. So there's definitely more car work, race track work compared to other Jackie movies. So I guess you could say it's kind of his version of Days of Thunder and other other films. And at the end of the day, I thought it was a pretty decent flick. I didn't mind it. I thought it was filmed like cinematography, like the look of the film. It didn't look cheap or anything. Jackie has his songs in there. The English dub is one of those dubs where Jackie does not do his English voice. Because a lot of other times, Rumble in the Bronx, Super Cop, Jackie Chan's First Strike, when you need the English dub, Jackie will provide the voice. This is not one of them. This is similar to Police Story 1, Police Story 2, where someone else does it. And I say that because this was filmed right after Rumble in the Bronx. Now, I read up that apparently at one point, New Line Cinema or someone else was going to pick this up. Just because Rumble in the Bronx was a hit, and either New Line Cinema or other companies were picking up other Jackie Chan films, so that's how you got Super Cop in theaters for a bit. And they would re-edit it, maybe put their own music, and Jackie would do the English dub. But that wasn't the case. In fact, when it went to the US, it was pretty much on video. I know it's a little pet peeve thing, but I do wish it was Jackie's own voice. Because we're so used to his voice. He's done it before in other films. So I never really understood why a company wouldn't just go, well, why don't we just get Jackie? You do the voice and we'll reissue the film with your voice in it. So that's be a nice selling point. And plus, nowadays it'd be too late because he would have much older cadence in his voice. But I do wish there was a time where he would have gone back and done voice work for all of his movies. Just to hear his own voice amongst Police Story, some of these classics. I don't view Thunderbolt as a classic, but it just one of those things where it would have been nice to hear his own voice. Just to put it that way. I would say if you're a car junkie, you would get even more out of this. Maybe if you're into like the Fast and Furious movies, it'd be a fun bit to see since you have some car work and street racing. Not a whole lot of street racing, but there's a decent amount of car chases. Now, the car chases are nice to watch, nice to view. The chase bit where Jackie's chasing the bad guy Cooter and the reporters in the other seat. You get some nice maneuvering, some nice bits of jumping from here to here. Nothing too insane or crazy though. Nothing too insanely memorable though. But the pacing isn't too bad, too shabby. There's a couple of decent fight scenes, but nothing too exquisite compared to, again, Police Story or Super Cop or Rumble in the Bronx or etc. There's a little bit of a fight he has with two guys who were hitting on his sisters, and he's very protective of them. There's another bit later on when he's trying to get one of his sisters before the race, and he's in this pachinko hall casino. And I would say there's a big fight scene in the movie, which is decent choreography because they go from the floor and they're trying to go up top to these things up above where they're bouncing on these things, trying not to fall. And fighting these, Jackie's fighting these two guys, and at one point all three of them fall. While this background as he sparks and the scaffold falls. The racetrack at the end, there's some really good stunt work and crashes where other cars are crashing or flipping over or explosions. There's a last bit where Jackie is chasing the bad guy, and it's like his car got a rocket boost because it flies and it shoots off, and you have this beautiful shot where it shoots off, and the stand where the guys have the flags, they have to get out of the way because the car crashes right through it. A nice bit of slow-mo. Beautiful stunt work. Again, it's like it drew a rocket on his ass to shoot out. As I call it, the crazy rocket moment. So it's definitely the old school Jackie feel of the film. There's entertainment to be had with that. The movie's only an hour and 30-some minutes long, so if you like Jackie Chan, you like his action films, there's definitely a bit there to gobble up and enjoy. But I did have issues with the film. That's why it's not nearly one of my favorites. And I thought it was pretty decent. It was decent. I liked it. But I didn't love it. Why? Yes, the pet peeve, I wish it was Jackie's voice. But if I overlook that, There are times where the few fight scenes that are in here, it's edited a bit differently. It's edited a bit quicker. The shots are more hiding Jackie's face. Don't get me wrong, Jackie does quite a bit in these fights. But you tell there are moments where they're specifically trying to hide his face, whether it's from behind or from the side, or it's edited a bit quicker than fights you would see in Rumble in the Bronx or Police Story, where the point is to show the camera so Jackie's doing all this and his face is clearly visible. Is because this is one of the few times Jackie used doubles during the fights. He used doubles. That's because right before he had done Rumble in the Bronx. If you remember that movie, at the end credits, when you see the gaffs, there's the bit where he tried to jump on that hoverbolt thing. He hurt his ankle, his foot. He had to be put in the cast. He had to go into this one, so he could not do as much with the fights as he can. So there are times where it's like Jackie's Taylor's doing this crazy maneuver amongst his pachinko machines, or he's on top and he's doing these crazy tits and flips. But you see again, they're not showing his face, or he's like from behind here. And if you pause it, you look at his face, you go, that's not Jackie. So that's a bit of a bummer. You kind of wish, why didn't you just wait until he's healed up? Just go, okay, you know what? We gotta bump it a bit. I know it's don't take money out of it, but maybe they just said, you know what? It's not specifically a fight movie. It's more of a race car type of movie, so we'll manage. Maybe they had a deal in place they could not get out of it. But it does hamper the fight scenes a bit. Especially once you know that, then it's kind of hard to unsee it. Again, Jackie does quite a bit in this. Don't get me wrong. There are times he maneuvers and gets out of the way of certain things and some fist work. He does do some kicks here and there, but it's not going to be up to the level that you see again in Operation Condor or Armor of God or other films of this era for Jackie. Number two, well, if I add the Jackie voicing, I just number three of my issues. There are times like they use two different modes of slow motion. The slow motion that's the better looking one that you see in John Woo movies, that they kind of use in like the rocket bit where it flies up and, or maybe it wasn't slow motion. Maybe it's just, maybe I'm wrong in that. I'm so mesmerized by the stunt, I wasn't paying attention to the way it was filmed. But, so scratch that. So I can't remember exactly, I just remember the stunt being cool. You know how sometimes they'll do slow motion, but looks a bit more stiff in slow motion because they have a different frames per second, which just doesn't look aesthetically as good. They use that a couple times in this, which I'm like, I wish they would just use proper slow motion techniques. I didn't like you would see in John Woo films, among other stuff. Because when you use the other frame per second, I forget what the technical frames are per second, but it just looks a bit more jittery and not as smooth in terms of slow motion. It's like this is the slow motion we use when we, after the fact, decide this scene needs slow motion. I think you saw a little bit of that at the end of Rumble in the Bronx, or was it Mr. Nice Guy? Maybe both. It just doesn't look as good. I mean, it's not a big deal. The sisters, the younger sister characters that get kidnapped, they're really nothing characters. You really don't get to know them much at all. Same with Michael Wan as the Interpol guy. He's kind of just there. It is funny though because there's a bit in the middle before, after Jackie catches the guy Cooter and before the guy's been mess up the junkyard, there's a bit where the bad guys spring Cooter out of the police station. And it's interesting because Jackie Chan films are not really known to be that violent, and yet this was like surprisingly violent. I'm not saying there's like blood explosions, but when people get shot, you see blood squibs. You see someone get shot, you see a little bit of blood come out, like they're wearing a mask. You see a little headshot. You see a bunch of explosions. You have pretty big body count where they're killing a lot of the cops. And Michael Wan takes a few down. Again, it's not John Woo style, but you do see blood squibs, and that's something you usually see in Jackie Chan films. So that was surprising. Maybe because Jackie Chan's not the one doing it. I mean, he's shot and killed people in movies. Don't get me wrong, but it's not a whole lot you see big blood squibs in his Hong Kong movies. But you did see in this, again, maybe because Jackie wasn't in the scene, so he could be. Because it seemed like at this time he's still a bit more family oriented, even though I would call them family movies, but you know what I mean. I want to see more kid friendly, but more so compared to like John Woo or Bruce Lee or other stuff. Oh, it was also funny just how much product placement there was for Mitsubishi. At the beginning, there's a lot of Mitsubishi on cars and other elements on tracksuits. And when you get into the third act, Jackie has his car, but he gets demolished. But Mitsubishi comes in to save the day because Mitsubishi and the people that run her, they're very, they know what Jackie's going through, so we're going to give you two cars just to have a backup. So it's a Mitsubishi, just how wonderful Mitsubishi is. Aren't they fantastic? So something about that made me laugh, I will admit. That was kind of funny. The reporter lady, she was okay. But I mean, it's kind of the typical Jackie, it's a romance, but it's not a romance. Just Jackie didn't want to do a whole lot of romantic scenes because he knew he had a female audience. So there's not a lot of like big make out kiss scenes he has with the ladies in his movies. It's kind of like some kind of respect, and maybe there'd be something there a little bit. I did like this moment where he sees that she's so glum, so he puts up his mask. And he gives his big smile to make her smile, and he goes along with the race. The other thing I noticed is that during the last big race thing, it looked a bit weird and off. And I just quickly realized it was because they're speeding up the film. Because apparently, where they were going to shoot it, there was some kind of weather problem, so they went somewhere else. And I guess the Malaysian government said, you can't race these cars at normal speeds, it's too dangerous. So that means they had to race not so fast, but to make it seem faster, they sped up the film. And that hurt the finale quite a bit. Because you can notice it, and you notice these cars aren't really moving like they should. It's like, because you could tell sped up film where the car's like doing this, like wait a minute. And the stunt work saves it, and liking Jackie Chan as a performer. But at the same time, when you have race cars, you kind of want to see them, what they can do in their normal habitat, so to speak. So the fact they're being speeded up just looks a bit funky to me. And, it doesn't... While it's a fun scene, it's not up to par with, say, Days of Thunder that Tony Scott directed or other movies of that nature. Because, and it obviously it's not their fault, they were forced to do that, but at the same time, it just... There's issues in this with, again, you have the fight scenes because Jackie's hurt, so you had to use some doubles, so not all, but some of it's Jackie's hiding, or they have to have another person do some crazy moves. Again, the race scenes, it wasn't... There's a lot of things that weren't up to the standard of other Jackie Chan fare, so this goes a bit down on the list for me because of that. Like the fight scenes, there could have been more fight scenes and more fluid choreography, showcase of Jackie's talents, but he was hurt, so they couldn't do that. Again, because of the government get involved. They couldn't film the race scenes as intricate as they could. So this stuff does suffer because of that. And while again I don't hate the film, I don't think it's a bad film. If you want to see Jackie do something a little bit different in the race car circuit, at least it doesn't feel like the same movie you've seen over and over again with Jackie. But it doesn't break too much ground. Again, you do have the love interest, but it's not a love interest. You have the bad guy who's, I don't know if it's the dub job, his voice was a little bit over the top. But I mean, Jackie, with his mannerisms, his facial acting, it's hard to judge him with his dub voice on the vocal part of the acting, but physicality wise, he's still doing the best that he can. And at least the plot was a bit different from the Jackie Chan films. There's not a whole lot of them that deal with illegal street racing. So again, at least I felt a little bit more refreshing to be in that environment. But I said I do wish Jackie was 100% so that the fight scenes could have been even more exquisite. I do wish the government would not have messed with the race car scenes so that they wouldn't look so funky. Because you're speeding up the film and it just, that's in the back of my head, so I can't get totally invested in the scene that's happening. Spoiler, I do find it funny as well that his two sisters are taken. He goes to the pachinko place and he makes a ruckus and has a bit of a fight scene as well as his double. And then the bad guy is so impressed, he gives him one of the sisters. So now he's doing this race to save the other sister. But it was really all for naught because he does win, but then Cooter, the bad guy, goes back on it. So that's when Jackie chases him. Now, did they mention that his car had a rocket car in the back? Like a rocket? There's a bit where he hits a button and then you see like a rocket blast. Did they put that in there and I didn't notice? Maybe they said that he did notice. He didn't use it before to be labeled cheating. But maybe that was the case. Maybe it's supposed to be kind of the injector, the fuel. Just like Fast and Furious. And more the family. Maybe it was more about that. Oh, what I was going to say. When he catches the bad guy, Michael Wan comes in and you see a little bit of it, but mostly off screen, Michael Wan and his men save the other girl. You see like a little explosion and she's tied up and you're wondering what's going on, and then you find out at the end Michael Wan and his men saved her. So Jackie winning this race didn't matter anyway. If he lost the race, if he won the race, it didn't matter because this was happening. Now, Jackie didn't know that, to be fair. So I guess he won, you say, some bragging rights. But when you think about it, it's like, it kind of loses a bit of the tension of the finale because it didn't matter if he won or lost. His sister was going to be safe anyway. But again, supposed to know that till at the end. So, but it's one of those things you think, well, the race didn't really matter. But it mattered, Jackie, because he didn't know. If he, or level of pride, however you want to put it. But yeah, at the end of the day, I had never seen this Jackie Chan film before. I didn't mind it because, again, the backdrop, the plot, it was at least a bit different compared to other Jackie movies. Even though he was hurt, it's still in his heyday. That even hurt, he just still does some nice physicality movements. Like I said, him being part of a race car circuit at the end at least made it seem like a unique finale compared to other Jackie movies. There are some good car stunts and crashes and burns. Crash and burns, I meant to say. So overall, I still didn't mind it despite issues I do have with it. So with that said, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.